So the bad news hasn't exactly stopped, and again, some people tried to look at this as possibility of good news, but I didn't look at it that way. I looked at it as this is a very bad situation that we're in as fans, and I'm not sure that Microsoft will right the ship, because I think if you look to the original story of 30% of Xbox, they need to have 30% profit, etc., etc. If they don't do that, we don't know the recourse, right? Microsoft could just pull the plug entirely. You know what I'm saying? So we're not sure exactly what could happen from this, but from my perspective, I'm kind of looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, Microsoft really kind of screwed the pooch here. They really kind of killed their fans. They really hurt the fans. They really did things that I believe would be impossible to kind of come back from. And this sounds really bad. This sounds like really, really bad, because at the end of the day, Microsoft is trying to get people into Windows, but Windows is terrible. Let's just be honest. And so we all want Microsoft to do more consoles and things like that, and it does look like they are going to do that. I think we all have to look at any Xbox news now with the idea that we now know that they need 30% increase and things like that. So again, that's something that we can all kind of agree on, that hey, this new kind of leaking news that came out kind of lets you understand a little bit what's going to happen in the future with Xbox. So it's like you got to listen to the words and then kind of take it out there. But anyway, in a recent interview, Sarah Bond said the next Xbox console, which is rumored to be some kind of hybrid system capable of playing both Xbox console games and PC games. While Bond wouldn't be drawn into confirming or denying it, her reply did suggest that the next Xbox will have a high price point and will share at least some things in common with the ROG Xbox Ally devices. Quote, "Well, I can tell you, you're right that the next gen console is going to be very premium, very high-end curated experience. You're starting to see some of the thinking that we have in the handheld, but I don't want to give it all away." So it's not clear whether this is thinking that Bond is referring to, but the ROG Xbox Ally handhelds, which are just handheld Windows PCs, offer the players ability to not only access the PC version of the Xbox Store, but also other stores such as Steam and Epic Games. Microsoft CEO Phil Spencer discussed something similar in an interview last year before it was publicly known that the ROG Xbox Allies handhelds were in the works. In an interview with Polygon, Phil Spencer said he would like to see other digital storefronts appearing on Xbox consoles in the future, and that he'd like to break down the walled gardens that limit players to only buying console games through the console's official digital store. When asked if this meant he could see a future where other third-party stores like Epic Games Store could end up on Xbox, Spencer said he could, citing the way that Microsoft handles Windows, for example. "Consider our history at Windows. Nobody would blink twice if I said, hey, when you're using a PC, you get to decide the type of experience you have by picking where you buy games. That's a real value to that." Back in February of 2024, Xbox promised that its next console would be the largest technical leap you've ever seen in hardware generation, which makes it better for players and better for creators and visions that they're building. Earlier in the month, it leaked out that a video showing that he claims to be the main processor for the next Xbox console, stating that he too believes Microsoft is reportedly positioned in the next Xbox console to be a hybrid system capable of not only playing games on the Xbox Store but also PC games on other stores. It should be stronger than the PS6, but at the same time, it will also be a lot more expensive because of this larger size and because of use of the bridge dies and likely a larger RAM capacity compared to the PS6, at least if it wants to work well as a PC console hybrid. According to this, the Asus ROG Ally suggested that should the next console move to a similar multi-store system, it would provide the change in direction Microsoft needs to differentiate its product from PlayStation consoles. If this is indeed the next step to Xbox's journey, then it's an interesting one, and speculation that the next Xbox console will be some kind of hybrid. If it's true, it's going to be very interesting to see where it lands. Now, here's the thing, right? There is no such thing as a hybrid. I don't know why people are saying that. To compare it to this ROG Ally thing, that's not a hybrid, it's just a PC handheld. Yeah, there's multiple stores on it because it's a PC handheld. You can't close it off. Consoles are closed, and I think there's multiple ways to look at this, right? So Microsoft just raised prices of Game Pass to $30 a month, but $10 of that is the price that console gamers pay to play online. If you have PC offerings, you can't have a pay-to-play model anymore. You know what I mean? So it would really kind of put it in a weird place. Also, the other thing that I would kind of point out is that Microsoft could not get away with, like people are saying that the PlayStation 6, which by the way, I already said this, PS6 is going to be an affordable price, right? Like people go, oh no, it won't. Look at the PS5 Pro. They can do what they want with the PS5 Pro because that is a very premium product. And that's not to say that they won't have a higher priced PS5 or PS6, excuse me, but they're going to have a base entry one for $500-$600 because they're going to want people to mass adopt this thing. And with Xbox going the route that they're going, you're looking at Xbox possibly costing $1,200. And we say, oh, and you might go, that's impossible. Well, check this out. Consoles usually subsidize and take a loss on the hardware. Microsoft's not going to do that because they need to make 30% profit on everything. So they're not going to subsidize. They're going to make you pay the cost up front. And usually they would get that money back by selling things in their store, or, you know what I mean? They would hope that you buy the system, then you're buying everything from their store. Since you're not going to be buying everything from their store, they're going to want to make money on the hardware, which means it's going to be very expensive, maybe double the price of the PlayStation 6. The interesting part to that is, and this is the part that's still fuzzy, and it's interesting to see how this is going to come out, but backwards compatibility. So there's like 60 some original Xbox games that are backwards compatible, 660 some Xbox 360 games. Pretty much everything from Xbox One is backwards compatible. You can't do emulation and sell those games in your store unless you go and get new licenses, right? So the whole reason the backwards compatibility program stopped was because developers go out of business, the licenses are kind of wonky, they're up in the air, so they had to stop because you have to get a license for everything. Maybe a game has licenses, like maybe there's a product placement in it or whatever. All those licenses have to be renewed, and so that makes backwards compatibility almost impossible. So if this thing's a PC, there's one option. There's a couple options. Well, one, you would do two forms of hardware in this thing, right? So you would have PC hardware and then a console hardware that would allow you to do backwards compatibility natively. The PS3 did this. A version of the PS3 did this, right? I think the 80 gig PS3 had PS2 set in it so that you could play native PS2 games off that hardware. It was very expensive, $600 for that console back in 2006. So here we are 20 years later, and if you try to do it that way, it's going to be insane. You can't just do emulation, and what I'm saying, like, it wouldn't make sense to be able to do that. So they have to do it that way. Either you have two things in there, or you allow emulation without selling it in your store, which that's crazy. Why would like, nobody would do that. It would, the amount of money and everything that would come into it would be just absolutely insane, to spend all that money on working on emulation for this stuff and not be able to take stuff with you. So I don't know. It is crazy to think what's happening to Xbox right now, though, and how all this stuff is kind of changing. Gaming is definitely changing, and things are getting crazy. You know what I'm saying? So she's using big words, curated, high end. This is like how things are going to be. That's unfortunate because they're really going to end up, in my opinion, pricing people and pricing a lot of fans just out of the market. You know what I mean? Like, people, if you're not gonna, and what's gonna be your hook for buying this? I mean, PC gamers want their own PCs, they build them, they upgrade them and things like that. They're not gonna want this. This is gonna be like a mid-range thing at best, but it's gonna be expensive. Console gamers like me like easeability, plug and play. You just play the game, whatever. I certainly don't want to play against PC gamers. I don't want to mess with like cheaters and all that kind of stuff. I think if you have an open system, like, it's going to really invite people to kind of pirate games and do all kinds of things that you don't want them to do anyway. So yeah, it's a really strange time. It's going to be interesting to see how all this stuff adds up and how things change in the future. I don't know what to make of it all yet, but I suspect we'll probably start seeing something sooner rather than later. I mean, they're going to have some explaining. I'll link this. You guys can check it out. What do you guys think? You know, in your heart of hearts, what do you think? Not your Xbox fanboy or ego or whatever. What do you guys think? Let me know. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.